Welcome to the HP Online Teaching Assistant, an initiative of HP Education. Today, we will explain how to use the Quizizz app to learn in a fun way. In today's educational session, we will explore the Quizizz app for students to learn while having fun. And today's objectives are to learn how to use the Quizizz app, to learn how to integrate it with Google Classroom, and learn about reports that we can generate in Quizizz. To access it, you just have to type quizizz.com in your search engine and register. You can register from your Google account, which is much easier. I already have Quizizz open. I previously registered from my Google account, and this is the interface. On the left side, you can see your profile. If you want, you can edit the photo, first name, last name, etc. The button to create a new Quizizz. Search, which is this home screen where we are. You can see here quizzes created by other teachers. Some suggestions appear by topics, but you can be more specific with the search. For example, if I'm an art teacher, I could type Roman art, and I'll see all the results related to this topic. I can also apply filters. I click on More and I can filter by language. In this case, let's say they be only in English, have between 1 and 10 questions, and here I can define the type of content, that they be quizzes or presentations. I'll leave both and click Apply, and we get the quizzes and presentations with this theme. For example, if I click on this quiz, Roman Art and Architecture, here I can see the information related to the quiz. It tells me what grades I could apply this quiz to and the subject. Play live. If I want my students to log on, Quizizz generates a code which I would share with them to enter the quiz. The quizzes serve as a trivia, so the question appears and below it the possible answers. Then it tells me what position I'm in. Above, you can see what question they're on, the points earned, and the position. And I could continue like this until all 10 questions in the quiz have been completed. I'm going to close this window. And here you can check the questions of the quiz and the duration of each. Let's say that this quiz is good for me for the lesson I'm teaching in art class with my students. I could start editing it if I click here or save it for review later. In this case, I click Save and select the collection where I want to save it, and done. Now I go back to where all the results of my search are. Each time I stop on a quiz or a presentation, on the right I see a preview of the questions that each has. That way I would not have to enter each one as I can see them from here too. And if I'm interested, I can click Save to add to a collection. Let's continue. My library. Here I see the videos that I've saved, the ones I've created, which in this case I haven't got any that I've given a like. My collections. Here I have art and history, and if I want to, I can create another. Click on Create Collection. I name it, for example, Art, and I define whether I want this collection to be public or private. I'm going to make it private and click on Create Collection. Reports. This part is super important, okay? Here, for example, I have a quiz that I set up, and 2 people participated. If I come here, I can see the accuracy average of the participants, the number of questions in the quiz, and the number of attempts. In Players, I can see who participated. In this case, it was John and Angela. It tells me the number and percentage of questions answered correctly. John, 100%, and Angela, 90%. The score, and this is where I want to send the result to John's father. I write the father's email here and click Send. I can also do it from here, email all parents. I would have to have the emails, and it's done. In Questions, I can see the questions of the quiz one by one, and it also tells me how many players clicked on each of the responses, whether they were correct or not. This is useful because if a large percentage of my students have failed in a particular question, I use this as a warning to readjust my lesson, as it may be that the explanation is not clear, or it requires added information. In Overview, I can see whether each player got the questions correct or not. I can also see how long it took for each one to answer it. For example, in question 3, Angela answered correctly and it took her 8 seconds, while John, with the same question, took 5 seconds. Angela was incorrect in question 1, and it tells me that the answer she chose was the number of tables Caesar had in his house. This mode of visualization allows me to quickly identify who answered incorrectly in certain questions. I can download this report in Excel or I can send it directly to print. Then we have Classes, where I can create a class in the Quizizz or I can connect it to my Google Classroom, and assign the quiz directly as a task to a specific class in Classroom. To share the quiz with my students, I basically have three options. Create a class on the platform for my students. If I have a Google account, I can assign the quiz directly to a class in Google Classroom, or share the access code via email, WhatsApp, or the LMS I have available to communicate with my students. I'm going to import one of my Google Classroom classes, so I click Connect with Google Classroom, select the account from which I want to connect, I give access to my account, and select the class I want, in this case, Art. And that's it. It will appear here. Then we have My Collections, which is the same as we saw in the library. I have Art and History, and the one I created recently, Art. The collections allow me to organize my quizzes and presentations by topics or grades, so that when we create or save a quiz or presentation, it will be easier to locate afterwards. We continue with memes. The kids really like this option, as I can put a meme for every answer they give. I can also create a new set of memes. That means I can put the photos I want here and I can type the text I want. I can do that or use those available to me in Quizizz. So now that we have reviewed all of the options, let's create a quiz. Click on Create. I give it a name. For example, Roman Art. I choose the topic to which it corresponds. I'll select Arts and History. Next, and we are now in the quiz editor. Here I get the 5 different question types that exist: multiple choice, checkbox, fill in the blank, poll, this wouldn't be evaluable, and open-ended question. I click on New Question and it asks me to choose a question type. I'll choose multiple choice and we can start writing. Now suppose I was wrong and I wanted a checkbox type question instead. I can go to this drop-down window and change the type of question. I'll choose multiple choice again. I write the question here. For example, Roman mosaics were made of, and in possible answers, I'll write marble, tile, glass, stone, and all of the above. I check the correct answer. If I want to, I can add an image to go with the question by clicking on Media. I can upload an image or paste the URL of the image I want you to see, or I could also record an audio or upload it from my computer. Let's go back to Image. I have on my computer a folder with the images that I want to upload. I just drag it here and it's uploaded. I could also add images in the answers. If it were a math quiz, I could use this function option to enter the operation. But since this is not the case, let's leave it like this and continue. Here I define the duration that the question will last, say 45 seconds, and click Save. Now let's say that, for the next question, I need some inspiration. I can go to this option that says Teleport, and I can look for questions and quizzes related to the theme of Roman art. I found a quiz and I happen to like this question. I click Add and it automatically creates that question for me. Now I go to another one and add another question. And I can take different questions from different quizzes and add them to mine. Let's say I'm done adding, I simply return to my own quiz and I can now edit the questions I've added by clicking on Edit. And once there, I can modify whatever I want. This teleport option is quite powerful if I want to take advantage of the work that others have already done, so you don't have to start from scratch. After all, the quizzes here are those that other teachers have made public. In other words, you have permission to use them. I would like to add a thumbnail of the quiz. Click here, and again I can drag the image I want. For the language, we choose English, the grades that will take the quiz, if I want it public or private, and then Save. You must have a minimum of 4 questions. If you have less, it will appear without the checkmark here. This is as a reminder of what you should take into account when creating your quiz. If any of these steps are unmarked, it will not let you finish it. Now I click Done, and we click up here to finish, and it automatically appears here. Now, what can I do with this quiz? I have all the options I commented on at the beginning of the session. Let's go over them. I can play live. I have these 3 options. Test requires that my students register so I can keep track of who enters and the number of attempts. You could also assign it to a class from here. I'm going to choose Classic, Continue, and here I get the access code. This is the one that I share with my students. If they use this link here, It also gives me the option to share it via Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, Remind, Canvas, Schoology, or Twitter. For now, I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to open an incognito window for you to see. The student would enter their name here, Hannah, and you can see that it shows me as a teacher that Hannah has joined. Then I can click Start, and the countdown to complete the quiz begins. Hannah will begin to see the questions and choose the answers. Once that's finished, you'll see the results on the screen, the percentage of accuracy and what position she is, the score, the number of correct and incorrect responses, the average time, etc. And at the end, you can see the questions. If the left margin is green, it means that the answer was right, but if not, it will be in red. I'm going to close this window and get out of here. Let's return to the quiz we created to see the rest of the options. What else can I do? I can assign it as homework, define the due date and time for completing the quiz. I can assign it to a class. Remember that I've already linked one of my Google Classroom classes, so I click on Select and choose the classes or class I want to assign it to. In my case, I will put it in Art. And Next. Here we have different settings, like how many attempts can students make? Unlimited. This option does not require students to register in Quizizz, but if I define a number of attempts, it will ask them to register, as otherwise I would have no way of knowing who has answered it, or how many times it has been done. That depends, of course, on the teacher. I can enable or disable these options. Show answers in-game, show answers post-game. I can put a timer so that students have a countdown on each of the questions, show leaderboard, shuffle questions, shuffle answer options, redemption questions, if I want to give students a second chance to reclaim any of the questions that they've answered wrong, play background music, show memes, I can select those that Quizizz offers, or I could select some of the ones I've created. When I finish validating the configuration of all the options, I can assign the quiz. It will automatically appear in My Tasks in my Google Classroom class. If I click here, I can also get the code for the quiz. If I'm in class with my students, I can tell them to enter this address in joinmyquiz.com and type in this number, or I can invite them with this link through any of these platforms. Now we are going to validate whether it's in Google Classroom. I have a window with my art class open. We can see here that I received a notification saying that a new task has been assigned. If I go to Classwork, it will appear here. And now each student can go to the quiz and complete it. Now I'm going to go back to Quizizz. The last option is Practice. If I click Play, it gives me the options to play. So I click on Start, and it would be as if I were playing. We've already looked at this. And this flashcards option is useful for reviewing. so the student could go and look at each question and its answer by turning it over to decide if he understood it or if he wanted to review it again. I can copy this link and send it to them by email, or I could share it using one of the options that appear here. Well, this will be all for today. We hope you liked it and invite you to try this tool. Thank you for watching this video offered by HP Online Teaching Assistant, an initiative of HP Education.